back to my channel. I'm Deanna, you're watching Orchie D, and I'm repotting today. So I'm repotting 2 orchids and I'm going to tell you my plan. They're not the same type of orchid, but this is a Cattleya and it is RBY Copper Queen, which you might just be able to see there. And I got it in bloom from an orchid show. You can see it's potted in this shallow round pot, and it's got a single direction of growth. It's got a new growth coming out there. It does seem like a nice healthy plant, so if you can see there, every single one of these canes has flowered. So the whole plant is flowering size. But I don't like this pot, and I don't like that there's only a single direction of growth. So I want to repot this guy, and I want to divide him as well. And what I'll probably do is repot the 2 divisions in the same pot, so I essentially, hopefully, will get 2 directions of growth. But I'm gonna pot it in a normal pot, because as it is, this pot is getting a bit missed with my watering. Yes, so I'm just gonna change things a little bit. It's due for a repot, it's a good time. The older growth there is starting to produce its own roots. So yeah, we're going to do that. But I'm not gonna let this pot go to waste, because I have this here, which is Bulbophyllum Elizabeth Ann Buckleberry, which I got off eBay maybe 2 weeks ago, and I haven't repotted it yet. You can see that the Bulbophyllum has the most weird growth pattern. It's got extremely long rhizomes. It's got a whole bunch of new growths on this plant. They're all growing out of the pot, and I prefer it to be growing in a pot. So I think this is going to be a perfect pot for this plant. So once I take this out, I'm gonna sterilize it and I'm gonna pot this one in it. I'm not gonna show you the repotting of this plant because I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't want to give you guys like the wrong idea. Let's get started. Alright guys, so let's unpot this little one and see, well, little one, and see how we go. It's a little bit too big for me to squeeze, you see. Should be able to get it out. There we go. So the media in here is not too bad. It's actually seems pretty good, but there are a few of those little creepy crawly bugs in there. Quite a few ants actually, so we're just gonna replace it. I never use media and I don't know where it's come from. So this is the plant here. All these back roots on the back bulbs are dead. I'm going to remove this bark and give this root system a bit of a wash, and I'll be back in a second. Alright guys, so given the root system a good wash and a lot of the bark chips have just fallen out, I haven't forced any of them off. There's still some pieces left in there. As I said, the media isn't actually that broken down, so I don't mind these bark pieces staying on if they have to. What I've also done while I was at the sink was removed as much of the sheathing, the old sheathing, as I could, because it is a really good spot under there for bugs, mealybugs, scale, all that sort of thing to hide. And indeed I did find little pockets of pests there, which I have washed most of it off. Just around there's some mealybug, some traces of mealybug there, and even just in that little crevice there, I've washed away a little pocket of mealybug. So definitely worth taking off those old sheaths. I know some people do keep them on to help prevent sort of evaporative losses and things like that, but I say just get rid of them. So we're going to go through and remove some of these dead roots, and there's quite a lot of them back here. So most of these ones back here are dead, so it's actually probably easier to pick out the live ones because the rest of them are mostly dead. So that one's alive, but on these 3 back bulbs, pretty much they're all dead, so I'm going to actually just remove them all. Alright guys, well I won't take you through this whole process. I'm going to continue to cut, and I'm going to come back once I've gotten rid of all these dead roots. Alright guys, well I've gotten rid of a lot of the dead back ones, but we're going to go through these ones at the front here, which most of them are pretty good. You can see that's quite a healthy root system there, but we will pick out the dead ones just by giving the roots a bit of a squeeze, and of course the good ones, they will have turned green with some wetting, but the bad ones will be like this. So it's soft, it's hollow. You can see the end has the actual root sticking out, and if I just give it a little pull, the velamen comes off super easily. So we're actually gonna cut that one off. Okay, and there's a few more back here, so we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna feel through and cut off the dead ones. Now, Cattleya roots are extremely sensitive, and I have learnt this the hard way. So any damage, or I don't know, even just I don't know, any changing conditions to the roots can cause them to just die off, and they don't just, not just a part of it, but the whole root often dies off, and the whole root system can die off if you're extremely rough with it, and it can set your plant back for quite some time, and you know, it can really sort of basically shock the plant, and it won't do anything for ages. So this is not what we want. One, we want to repot at a time that's optimal for the plant, which they say is often when you've got new growths coming out, and you've got new roots coming out as well. So I find that when you've got small growths, that is actually the best time to repot. That's just in my experience. When you've got bigger growths, I think they're a bit more reliant on the root system. So when the root system gets shocked, it just kind of stalls and stops growing. This is kind of the same with dendrobiums as well. But when you've got a small growth, my theory is that it's drawing a lot of the energy from the previous cane, and so it can just continue to do that. Even if the roots are going through a bit of shock, it'll continue to grow, and it'll probably pump out a couple of roots itself if it feels that it needs, you know, to start its root system a bit earlier. So that's what I find, and I've gone through a lot of trial and error with Cattleyas. I haven't had the best of luck with some of them, but I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of things. So this is what I do now. I wait for a good time. Yeah, they're my little tips for Cattleyas. I'm no Cattleya expert, but I've repotted a whole lot, and I've learnt the hard way that you must be very, very gentle, especially if you have a decent root system like this. Now, if you find a root, I'm not sure if I can show you, but like this one, which is half alive and half dead, just sort of cut it back until you get to good tissue. And you'll know it's good tissue because you'll see it's not black in the middle or hollow, but it's got nice, healthy green tissue, like that there. Bit hard to see, sorry. Alright guys, well I've got most of the dead roots off, So it's not too bad. Even the older canes have couple of good roots back there. Well, they're a little bit more inefficient because they're older, but they're still alive, so I'm going to keep them on because, as I mentioned, I want to divide this. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 canes plus one developing one there. So I think this front portion has a really good chance of surviving. It's got its own new growth developing, it's got a good root system. So I'm going to give more canes to the back portion so it's got more energy to draw from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave probably, let's go 4 canes at the front. So 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4. And I'm going to divide this one here. What did I say? 7 canes. There we go. There we are. You can see I've got a nice cut of the rhizome there. Got some good healthy tissue. Well, it looks pretty good. You can see like around the bottom edge there that it's a bit dark. So it's almost always a little bit of fungal rot, and we don't want that to sort of get a hold. So I'm gonna give these guys a soak in just a little bit of mild antifungal solution, and I'll show you what I'm going to use. So I just have this stuff, guys. It's called Rid of Rot Systemic Fungicide. You see that? There we go. So this is a phosphoric acid based solution. It does say you can use it with ornamental plants, but you are meant to use it as a foliage spray and get the runoff. But I want to treat the rhizome, so I am going to soak the root system and the rhizome in this. I'm going to use pretty much half strength of what it recommends for ornamental plants. And it is a systemic fungicide, so I've done this with a few orchids, and it seems to, especially if they've got fusarium or something like that, it just seems to give them that little bit of extra sort of immune strength to push through. Once it starts developing its new growths and new root system, they can usually pull through as long as you look after them and get the plant into a healthy state again. Alright everyone, I'm back. I've got my 2 sections of the orchid here, and I have sealed the ends there with some cinnamon on both sides, and we have all our stuff ready to go. So it's never easy potting 2 portions, but I'll try my best. I've got a 15 centimeter pot here with some aeration holes. It's lined with some leca, just a thin layer just to increase drainage, and I've got some extra leca beads here. I've got my medium pre-made bark mix with some orchiata bark, perlite and charcoal, and I've added some extra medium and large chunks of bark in. And let's see how we can orientate this. So it's a little bit of a shallow pot, but unfortunately that's all I've got at the moment. So we'll give this guy a little twist in here. That'll help set it in the pot a little bit better, so that's pretty good. And we'll put this guy in with the smallest canes towards the back. And we'll position him like this. I'm going to hold this like this, and we will mix these together. Oh, and I do have a little bit of sphagnum here now. I don't recommend putting sphagnum in for Cattleyas for everybody, but I am going to put a little bit in because I know that this mix is going to dry out very quickly, and in my weather it's just not enough. I need something extra rather than just the bark that will retain some moisture. So we're going to put that in. I probably should have done this before I put an actual plant in, but anyway. So we'll mix that up a little bit. Alright, and let's go. That's pretty good. You can lift it up with both sides, and it's pretty firm in the pot there. So we're going to give this a good soak. Make sure we put this little tag back in. And there we have it, we've done the repot. Now, just before I finish up, I want to show you my Bulbophyllum repotted. It was actually 2 plants, and well, I'm not 100% happy with it, but you know, it's all growing. It's not growing exactly flat, it's growing sort of up then down. So this is about 50% sphagnum and 50% just other stuff, mostly large and small bark mix, and some leca beads, just because it's such a large pot, and wanted to create a bit more air in there, and yeah, I'm gonna hang it up and we're just gonna see how this little one travels. So yeah, okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you got something out of it, and if you did like it, please give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Put in the comments below if you have any Bulbophyllum tips for me, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to check out more videos and be notified when I release videos. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week, and happy growing until I see you next time. Bye!